Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Tawanda Dofat. I am the president and CEO of Majestic Millionaires, and I wanted to do this video today because I am actually in a teaching mode this morning, this afternoon, and this evening. So you guys may see about 2 or 3 videos from me today, but I want to educate my travelers about a lot of things today. A lot of people go on these fantastic, amazing, phenomenal cruises, and they don't need a passport. And some people go and they don't even question why they don't need a passport and what will happen if they don't have one and they encounter a situation, and also what that means to be on a closed loop cruise or a open loop cruise. So let me start by saying this. We love cruises. Cruises is one of the most amazing vacations that there are because you get free food, you get a free room and board, not free, but you pay your price. All of that is all inclusive, right? Except for those alcohol beverages, right? So let me explain to you all why you don't need a passport when you go to most of these countries on a cruise. First of all, because it's called a closed loop cruise. A closed loop cruise is when you leave one place and you return exactly to that same place. And I'll give you an example. Say if you left Miami, Florida on a cruise and you are going to return to Miami, Florida. That is called a closed loop cruise. Let me explain to you what an open loop cruise means and why you have to have a passport there. A open loop cruise is when you leave from Miami and you are going to return in Hong Kong, right? Because that means it's open. You went from one place and returning to another. Leaving from Miami, coming back to Miami, or leaving from Los Angeles and coming back to Los Angeles, that means it's a closed loop trip, a closed loop cruise. Okay. So with a closed loop cruise, because you are tagged to that cruise line, all of your documents are held in their actual, I'll say use a vault, the word vault. Your documents are held in their vault. If you happen to lose something, they have your information vaulted, right? So they can say, hey, this person has these documents. They may have been going to the Bahamas, but they lost their passport or they lost their documents or their ID. We have the documents for United States that they can come back. Okay, fine. That's all dandy. What happens on a closed loop cruise if you don't have a passport is what I want to talk to you guys about. And then we'll talk about the open loop cruise. If you are leaving, and this is from any United States city or state, and you are coming back to that exact same city or state, again, that is called a closed loop cruise. You are not required to have a passport. However, if you are in the Bahamas or if you are going over to I won't use St. Thomas because some of those are the U.S. Virgin Islands. If you are going over to Antigua on the cruise or one of the islands that are outside of the United States, and you happen to have an incident, whether you get sick or whether someone in your family back home gets sick or whether there's a death or whether you need to come back for any type of emergency, you are not able to jump on a flight and come back to the United States because you don't have your documents. You don't have documents leaving out of that country to come back into the United States. There is a lot of paperwork that must be done in order for that to happen. And I had a scenario like that, and we're going to talk about that in a second. So when you go on these cruises, and they are called closed loop, you are definitely not required to have a passport. You can use a driver's license. You can use a birth certificate. If you are married, make sure you have a birth certificate and for your original documents showing what your last name used to be and your documents of what your name is today. That is a closed loop. Keep in mind, though, again, if you have to return, whether you're sick, whether you get into an accident, or whether someone in your family is sick and there's a death in the family, or for whatever reason, you have to come back into the United States, not on that ship, you're going to have an issue. You're going to have some big time problems. So make sure, of course, you go on that trip, but you get a passport. Passports are critical to your international travels. And then you get those nice little stamps where you can, show off, or you can look back for memories of all the places you have gone to, and you can have a stress-free, seamless experience when you're going on these international waters. Okay, let's talk about an open loop cruise. An open loop cruise is when you leave from any state in the United States and you come back again, like I said, in Hong Kong. That is open. It's open, wide open. How are you going to make it back through customs if you are in Hong Kong or Argentina or in Cancun or wherever that cruise is going to get you back to fly into the United States? That is called an open loop. And I want you guys to be educated on that factor today, because a lot of people don't know why you don't need a passport to go on these closed loop cruises. All right, I'll give you a scenario of a true life situation that happened. I had a passenger. It was maybe their second time cruising. They were leaving out of LA and they were going to Puerto Vallarta. They were going to some other places in Mexico, and they didn't have a passport. None of the passengers had documents to come back into the United States if something happened. And I'm keeping it real. They had insurance. Thank God they had insurance. But one person fell on the cruise and broke their shoulder. And they were on the second day of the cruise out of the country. And this is important to you to have a travel agent as well. The person got hurt and they needed to fly back to the United States. And they needed somebody to help them. The cruise line wasn't going to help them. Their family wasn't going to help them because, they didn't have the finances and the means to actually help them, or the expertise to get them from out of another country back into the United States. So what had to happen was I flew on an emergency flight. I had the people fly back into Tijuana, Mexico. That was the closest they can get to a border that bordered a United States city that was flexible. I'll say that. That was understandable. But with Donald Trump right now, you don't know what's going to happen. But I want to say Mexico, Tijuana was flexible. The person, I had to get an emergency flight. They didn't have a passport. They were on a closed loop cruise where they were leaving Los Angeles and coming back to Los Angeles, but they got hurt. So we did an emergency flight, flying them from Puerto Vallarta back to Mexico, Tijuana. When they got to Mexico, we had the ambulance waiting for them at the border to carry them into the United States and get them to the hospital. And they actually did have surgery. The person had to get a new shoulder because it was like that bad, right? So no one ever thinks about why they don't need a passport and why they should have one. Invest in your travels and purchase a passport. A passport will save you every single time. Yes, it may not be required to have one, but it's always best to have one. You don't want that situation. And of course, that has never happened here at Majestic Millionaires Travel Agency until that incident. But it was something that I had to coach them through and explain to them that, yes, you didn't have a passport, you didn't need one, but now you need one. Not only did you need the passport, but you needed the insurance, and they did have the insurance. So the insurance was like super dope. It took care of the emergency flight. It took care of the ambulance. It took care of the surgery of their shoulder, all because they paid, I believe, and I don't want to say an exact amount because the person is my Facebook friend. I believe the policy was about $96, and all of that was covered. I was like, wow. But just imagine if they didn't live in LA or California and we had to fly them to the border of Tijuana. What if they lived in another state that's not bordering a United States border, and we couldn't get them back in easily? They would have had to have the surgery and everything done and documented in that country. So keep in mind when you're going on these cruises and we tell you, hey, your documents for a passport is not necessary, but there are consequences that you have to understand if for some reason you have to get back and you don't want to get back on the ship. And I'll even say, what if the ship leaves you? Have you ever been on a ship and you've been waving to the people because they were late coming back and the ship is already out to sail? I have been on 2 or 3 cruises, me and my husband, and we're in our balcony suite and we're waving to the people. They just have a bikini on and the little shopping bags that they purchased while they were off the cruise, and they have no other documents, whether they had a passport or not. You don't want to be in that situation. Have your documents in order. If you want to know how to get a passport, certainly reach out to me. We do expedited passports. That means if you lose your passport and you're going to go on a trip within 2 weeks, we can get that passport replaced for you. If you're going on a trip and you just happen to say, you know what, I was going on a closed loop, but right now I think I really need a passport, I can handle that for you. We can do expedited. We don't do regular first-time passports because it is more cost effective for you to actually go to the post office and get it there. And we don't want you to spend more money just because we are offering the service as well. So go to the post office, set an appointment, get your photos taken, and get your passport. But if you need an expedited passport within 15 days of your travels, I certainly can handle that for you. I hope I have answered your question about why you need a passport and why you don't need a passport for your cruising needs. I am Tawanda Dofat. I am the founder and CEO of Majestic Millionaires, where we help women and men travel the world, help you with amazing terms so you can have a seamless vacation experience and just sit back and relax and enjoy your vacation. Have a wonderful day.